Dallas.
After that video, I was like, there's no way I'm playing this game.
But there is one thing that we know about Luka. He loves to rise to these emotional moments.
Doncic goes all the way, lays it up and in. Oh, Doncic locked in from the opening tip.
He's giving it to him from every spot on the floor.
45 for Doncic. Talk about your storybook returns.
To be back with the fans that I spent 6.5 years with was just unbelievable for me.
It was an incredible night for Luka Doncic in his first game back in Dallas since the trade a couple months ago. You see the sign up there. But Luka ties his season high. All in all, a pretty good night. Here's LeBron.
Obviously, you saw the emotions on Luka's face. It was great. That was an unbelievable moment, something I probably would never forget, to be a part of that moment. And, the kid had 7 amazing seasons here. I mean, he was from a kid to, a man, and, for all those moments, just, it's all come together today, and just, it's pretty cool.
Luka's just the second player in NBA history with 45 points for and against a franchise in a single season. And anytime it's just you and Wilt up there on the graphic, you've done something. Historic night for Luka Doncic. Our NBA reporter, Dave McMenamin, was there for all of it, and he joins us now. Dave, we're watching on TV. It looked like a spectacle. When you're there in the building, what was the experience like?
Well, it started outside the building when I was at American Airlines Center this afternoon. I came across a Mavs fan wearing a Luka jersey, Luka sneakers, Mavs shorts, running 77 laps around the arena in his form of nonviolent protest for what was about to occur in the arena later that night. And of course, we heard the Luka chants, which was really pretty special. Some of the Lakers players told me it wasn't just Luka getting emotional, they were getting emotional for him when a nearly 3-minute long video played during player introductions. But then, of course, the Lakers are at the free throw line, the arena goes quiet, and all of a sudden the Fire Nico chants start. And you couldn't help but notice Nico Harrison, the Mavericks GM, standing in a tunnel, just kind of outside of the fans' view, but certainly there and hearing every single chant, which continued throughout the night. There were signs, there were Luka jerseys with, the Lakers put in tape over the top of Mavericks. There was Mavericks jerseys with Fire Nico taped across the back. It certainly was one of those tentpole moments that you're never going to forget when you cover the NBA and you think you've seen everything. And Luka Doncic, to his credit, was able to kind of push all that out of his mind and play one of his finest performances of the season.
Yeah, that's the thing, Dave. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw a player openly crying pregame like we saw with Luka, just overcome with the emotion there. But then he channels that into just an amazing performance.
He just has it. And I texted with a few people on the Lakers staff, and the one thing that came back was he's special. He's a one of one. There's nothing like his mentality and his mindset. Him and LeBron are in the same camp when it comes to that. And to see him really go out there and have his moment and have Nico sit there in the tunnel and have to watch all of it, I loved it, man. It was so incredible.
It was incredible. And I think I've made this point on the show, but maybe not. I've certainly said it on air before somewhere, but there are players who you're just not surprised that they step up to the moment. And one of the big examples of this was Kobe Bryant's last game. He scored 60 points. Of course he did. He's a type of guy that was a big moment. It's the send-off. Did it take him 40 shots or whatever to get there? Yes, but he was going to have a memorable moment when he knew the moment called for it. And Luka's the exact same guy. You just knew. Pencil him in for 45 because he's a guy who is going to show up for this one. And yes, tears, emotions, distractions, jump ball, and he's locked in right away. And it's of course he's going to deliver in this moment. I think there's something special about there's some players that you just know will meet it. And I think there's something that tells you something about them.
He's absolutely one of those. And I played in Europe and I played against some EuroLeague teams. And the fact that this dude was 18 years old and the MVP of EuroLeague, just tells you like where he's at mentally in terms of how much professional basketball he's played, how the odds have been stacked against him. Because like when you go through that kind of journey, you're starting off as a towel boy, like nobody's looking for you. And then you go in these arenas and you're not getting calls, like you're getting bumped on everything. And like he just kept churning and churning and churning. And the fact that he's like come from that, you see his first couple of playoff series. I mean, he went up against Kawhi, Paul George, Pat Beverly, like they had no answers for him, like on the road in Phoenix, like just absolutely took that team's throat. So he's built for that type of stuff. And there was no doubt that he was going to show up here. Now he might've gone 0 for 12 from 3, but he definitely wasn't going to go 0 for 2. Like he was going to let it rip, and they were going to back him to be like, this is your moment. Like go step on their throat. And it just totally the right player to meet that moment. And he's just absolutely special.
You're right, though, that the Lakers had his back in this one, and I do think that's kind of an important thing. That's one of the things I thought were they're all playing hard for this moment to allow him the stage to do what he did last night, and that was big. But the game was electric itself for a half. The third quarter, the Lakers started to pull away, but there were some big plays, and I thought Dallas met the moment too. There were emotional, big-time defensive plays. The Lakers are just better than Dallas right now, obviously without Kyrie Irving, but I thought the game itself was kind of interesting. So what stood out about the game?
Yeah, no matter how Nico Harrison put this roster together, how he acquired the players, you can at least see the vision. And the vision is we want to be, and you might not agree with the vision, but there is a vision there. Like we want to be one of the bigger lineups. We want to be able to go double big. And you could see there were stretches in the second half where Gafford and Anthony Davis really dominated the offensive glass, the defensive glass. They got anything they wanted. Lively was in the mix for there. But the thing is, in order to do that, you have to be able to survive in today's NBA with pick and roll coverages. And to have two big guys out on the floor, you're not going to play a lot of coverage schemes because the spacing and the shooting out there, there's a lot of room that you have to cover in terms of help to rotate, help to X out, things like that. And big guys aren't known for being able to cover those spaces. So the one thing that Dallas does do is they try to switch these pick and rolls to keep their shell intact, to not have big guys running on these long closeouts. And Luka Doncic is not the guy to do that to. They switched 57% of their pick and rolls last night on Doncic, and he's not the one because he sees a big and it's barbecue chicken time. He is cooking and he licks his lips when he sees it. He's like, this is perfect. Rudy Gobert last year in the playoffs. He saw Anthony Davis got it last night. Anytime they switched Lively on him, it was to his spots, whether it was pull-ups, whether it was layups, step back threes, anything he wanted. So you can see this vision for Dallas and you know that it's possible, but the Lakers are that matchup, and Luka specifically, that you just can't switch a big onto him. And you saw it in OKC with Hartenstein the other day. You can't do it. He's built to destroy those matchups. And it really takes what Dallas wants to do out of their comfort zone, because you can't go double big. And if you only go single big with how they're constructed, well, that's not really what they're meant to do. That's not their advantage. And I think at times when Luka was on the bench, they were able to survive switching those screens. But anytime he was back in the game, he was so sharp in those actions last night. 1.346 points per direct on pick and roll. Like that's a outlandish number. So to me, that was the story of it. And that was really the thing that took Dallas out of, this is our advantage of being big, but the Lakers really neutralized that with Luka in the pick and roll.
As great as he is in the pick and roll, you still need teammates who read the court to his tendencies. How do you screen? How do you move off things? How do you space? When do you cut? All this different stuff. I'm pretty impressed with how quickly the Lakers have absorbed that. That's one of the things that stands out, is I think the Lakers have really done a good job of figuring out how to play with him.
Yeah, I think it starts with LeBron. And it starts with LeBron. I was on here when they played Charlotte, and Legs and I were here. You were on vacation to fall in line. But it comes from LeBron's, I think, push to be like, this is the way we're going to play. I'm leaning all in. And once that guy leans all in, if you're his teammate, you can't not follow, right?
Of course. And it's kind of surprising to me, to be honest, with LeBron a little bit, because as great as LeBron has been, I don't think we've ever seen him adjust to another player to this degree. There's been obviously sacrifices. I'm not saying selfish, but he's always been like, I'm doing my thing and I'll change a little bit to the texture. This seems by far the most he's looked and said, okay, now he's me. He's doing the stuff I usually do. Yeah. So where do I fit in? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And Reeves, I've talked to people about Reeves coming from that undrafted place. Like he's always been in the sphere of, hey, where's the opportunity? Wherever it is, I'm going to do my best in that. So whether it's on ball or closeouts or finding pick and roll pockets, like he's in. Same thing with Dorian Finney-Smith, like coming from an undrafted guy, like he's got so much chemistry with Luka from Dallas and moving on. He does the exact same stuff too, finding pockets, spotting up, cutting, reading the court. And then Rui's done a wonderful job of mixing in. And that to me that's their death lineup. And I don't know if it's the best death lineup in the league, but man, it's close. Last night they were lights out. That lineup played together for 19 minutes. They were a plus 31 in 19 minutes last night, 183 offensive rating, 183 points per 100 possessions. They were just out of control. And it wasn't just last night, it's the whole year. And I think it's what you're saying about those four guys have learned how to move off of Luka's rhythm. They've understood what coverages he's going to see, where the open pockets are going to be, and where they're going to find shots. And NBA players are so talented that if they know where they're going to find shots at, if they know where they're coming from, and they're moving and they're touching the ball and they're feeling a part of everything, the rhythm that's there, they're so talented. So to see that group get it together and put together this run that they're on right now, that group is over 200 possessions plus 22 rating. That's top percentile in the league. 132 net or offensive rating and a 110 defensive rating. They stand up to people. They have a lot of size out there and they rebound and they defend well. So that's the group that I'm looking for when this team gets in a series. That's their ace up the sleeve. That's their death lineup.
There's no question it is. And what's interesting about last night's game with regards to that is you're going small, even though you're big all over the court, there's no center, there's no big guy. And when you go up against the Mavericks, they have multiple guys who can punish you with size, with physicality, with offensive rebounding. And yet last night, they only had 9 offensive rebounds the entire game. So to me, that's the thing you look at is say, okay, well, some team is going to physically just be imposing on them in the paint. But that has not been, even Denver, Minnesota, the teams they've played so far, that has not been the case at all. How do they do it?
Yeah. Well, I think some of them last night you saw, like sometimes they'll just give up a bucket. Like Luka got buried a few times on Gafford, and it's just, all right, cool, you can have this one. But in general, what they do really well is they fight. Whether it's, Luka on somebody and in the post he fronted AD, got a steal. In the first half, you saw it, Reeves fronting. And not only are they fighting there, but the coverage on the backside, the attention to detail, the early help, the early communication. Those 5 guys are really cohesive in how they're defending as a team. Nobody's out there on an island. They're all working together, working for one another, and taking the problems and sniffing them out early with early help. And I think, to me, that's what sets that group apart and why they're able to play small. They fight like hell early in the possession to make sure they're doing the work early so that they're not behind in the play, because they can't be behind in the play. They're not big enough to cover up mistakes.
But what is a team going to be able to do? Because as much as I agree with that, so you're saying do your work early, you kind of use speed to make up for size, especially in the center. And again, they're so long that it's not like they're a small team anywhere else, just at the center spot. But I still feel like there's a vulnerability there that a team can exploit. What are teams going to have to do to beat that lineup? Because I agree with you. If the Lakers win it this year or go far in the playoffs, it's going to be because of that lineup. So what's the weakness with the size part of it?
Yeah, I think it's always Luka on that end of the floor. Like he's always susceptible to being hunted and being put in the actions. We saw it against Boston with Jaylen Brown. Like they went after him every single chance they got. I think the Lakers have done a good job of trying to cover that up. They try to shrink the shell, get in gaps. And so something that comes to mind there is you're going to have Luka and Reeves, but LeBron, Rui, and Dorian Finney-Smith, they cover so much ground, and they're such intelligent defenders that they're doing their best right now to cover it up. Now, it could get to the point where, say they match up with Oklahoma City, and it's just Shea every single time hunting Luka and putting him in ISOs. Like that's going to be real trouble for them. Like there are teams that can get to things that scare them and that are really difficult. But on the other end of the court, that offensive group, 132 points over a long stretch of possessions, like that offensive group can absolutely cook, and they have a lot of solutions to things. So they have this other side of it where even if there are lineups that you feel like you can put them in danger and put them in trouble, those lineups might not necessarily be the ones that can actually defend them. And sometimes it comes down to just a few makes and misses in a playoff game. And you kind of think you want to bet on that side of the group offense for the Lakers team.
What's the 3-point shooting in that lineup? Do you have that in front of you? Does that show up in the and what you
I
have.
don't. It's not on cleaning the glass. No.
Yeah, because that's going to be, to me, another variable. It's a variable for everyone. But when you talk about Luka conceding some shots inside, or really any of them in that lineup, you get a post up and you're buried a little too deep. Just don't foul and let them go. And I think that's smart in today's NBA, because you will give up those. As long as you're not giving up too many, a team's not going to beat you on a steady diet of Julius Randle post-ups, right? If something like that, you're going to beat them if you can make threes. But when you look at that lineup, to me, they have it's an above average 3-point shooting group, but it's not like an elite one. And so to me, that is another variable, especially when you talk about if you get into a game 6 or a game 7, that's another vulnerability there is, okay, is Dorian Finney-Smith going to make enough of these now to punish if another team can punish him inside?
Yeah, there was a stretch last night. I think it's about the shooting. There's a stretch where all their shots come with such rhythm and balance, because if it's not Luka on a switch, it's most likely that they've brought a player up to the level to blitz Luka. And now we're playing 4-on-3 in the pocket. And so to me, those are the actions where last night Dorian Finney-Smith had a run in the second quarter that symbolizes kind of what you need to do to be able to fit in with a group like that and also amplify it. And Dorian Finney-Smith had a stretch where he had a closeout, help up the lane, got a dump off pass for a dunk. There was a Reeves pick and roll. He cut baseline, got a layup. He had 2 pick and rolls with Luka where he was the screener and he set Gortat screens. So, he screened like his defender so Luka could go get a layup. And then he hit a spot up 3 from the corner. All those actions, they symbolize what that group is, which is just high basketball IQ. They know where to be, they know when to be there, and they know that they're playing off LeBron and Luka's advantages. They're not trying to create these advantages. They're not trying to step outside of their skill level or their comfort zone. And